Okay, guys, I think we are past the 12 mark. Just let me give it a minute or two more before we start off. Okay, so as we are past the 12 o'clock mark, let's begin. It's time for me to interrupt your lunch session a little bit and talk about Oracle Cloud for Enterprise with Developers Bay. And I see like 10 participants or something on the call, so we are a neat little group. Feel free to address any questions or so to me during the presentation in the chat. My name is Axel Bronder. I am a cloud architect with Oracle. I've been here for the last 3 years, specializing on our cloud platform, that's OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. I'm also working with blockchain and with spatial. Spatial is all kinds of positioning and maps and such. And that's where I have my engineering background. So I graduated from KTH in Stockholm, 2013. I was basically an engineer. It's an engineering degree, but I've dedicated, my working life to IT. First in app dev with web technologies and Java on top of Oracle database, and then in consulting with Tieto. And I on a personal note, I'm working from home now, as I assume many of you do. I have a small family, or I have a wife and a kid. The kid is 9 months old, so if you hear some screams or so, it's probably in order. Nothing to worry about. I'm also what they call a paneja padawan, meaning that I'm one of those playing a lot of paddle, which has come to be a very popular sport, at least in Sweden at the time. My friends and I are currently paying someone half our age to make us do laps in a paddle court every Tuesday. The agenda is something we agreed upon a while back. The evolution of databases is, I won't be giving you a history lesson. I will probably jump just right to the current, what it has evolved to today. So where are we at with databases today from the evolution that has been going on for a long time. We'll look at the Oracle Cloud strategy, what the Oracle Cloud is basically, and what are differentiators compared to other clouds. We have a strategic cooperationship with Microsoft. I find that many businesses are very interested in that, so we're going to touch on it. And then we'll look at what customers are doing on our cloud. So that's it for the next, for this lunch break session. Again, if you have any questions or so, please write them in the chat. I'll be happy to take them. I have scheduled a few watering breaks during the session, so I should be able to at least read through your questions and see if I can do something about them. We're going to start with evolution of databases, or what they have evolved to, and I want to start somewhere in the end of the common misconception or so that if you have unstructured data or JSON data, you're gonna be doing it on a specialized database, I think, such as MongoDB, or if you have graph data, you're gonna work on a specialized DB such as Neo4j. if you're going to do spatial location data, you might go for a special one like PostgreSQL, something like that. But you don't have to. You don't have to be working on specialized databases for every use case that you have. You can consolidate them all into Oracle database because Oracle database supports all of these. And we try to be more clear on that at the moment. This doesn't go only for the cloud databases, but also for the installed based, the license product that we have on premise as well. So basically you can, and IT loves this, so you can put everything into one database. IT can then manage whatever you're doing. You can still do microservices. You can still do serverless because you don't have to do much interaction there, but you can keep it all in one safe place where you can take care of the administration, etc. And it's also good for anyone who is very familiar with, which I saw, I think before the session, I checked on a little bit who you guys were, and I saw many experienced people here. If you're very familiar with the relational database from before, you'll be happy to know that many of the technologies has been used for, I mean, graph, they are structured in the query language the same way. It's spatial, of course. So you'll be able to make use of your current knowledge if you have it from SQL and relational database, and you can apply it using a machine learning library, for example. And this type of consolidation doesn't only save IT a lot of money and effort, it doesn't only help the people familiar with databases. It's also something that you know, our customers can rely on when they want to cut down on using different kinds of licensing from other vendors, from us. The consolidation is something that we are helping you with. Not only in terms of technologies, but also the fact that if you have a 19C or one of the newer licenses, you also have multi-tenant included in that license. So with a database, you don't just have one database. You have one database container, and you can have up to 3 pluggable databases. That's basically 3 independent databases inside a container database that's included in the license. And in terms of all licenses, from all the way from 11G, which is currently the oldest version that we at all support, it was released in December last year that spatial, graph, and machine learning, they are no longer licensed separately. So they are included in all licenses from 11G forward in the Oracle database. So that's in terms of consolidation. We also have, if you've been working with us for a while, say 20 years, you follow that Oracle database has moved from the internet version to the grid version to the cloud version. And over all this time, I mean, 20 years in evolution perhaps, and then Oracle has like 40 years in the IT space, a lot of improvements, of course, has been made. And I don't know if you all along the journey has been associating Oracle with innovation, but if you do look at Gartner or other analyst firms, they still put Oracle in the front as the #1 innovator in the database space. It has been so for many innovations in the past, and now currently, because what they have evolved into, all this, you know, the long involvement has concluded or now been presented as the world's first, and still only, as far as I understand, autonomous database. The autonomous database is a cloud product that is self-driving, self-securing, and self-repairing. Self-driving in the sense that it reduces the human labor. You don't have to do a lot of work yourself. It protects itself from attacks, and it will keep your business up and running in terms of not only attacks, but also workloads, etc. And behind these words are a little bit more detail. I mean, you can find our white papers, etc. definitely on this, but behind the self-driving buzzword or so, it means that the database will be scaling in a fault tolerant set. So it will be able to, it will always keep a data recovery. We'll be able to do data recovery all the time. So behind this, basically you have a data guard still running and making sure that you will not lose your data. Also, it's self-securing in a sense that it automatically applies security updates online. So if there is a security update out there, it will apply it and install it itself without downtime. It's also self-repairing in the sense that it will automatically recover from any failure. It will also scale compute and storage automatically, and that's a cloud thing, right? So we have basically how much infrastructure. We have endless resources basically, but you can set how far you're willing to let your database scale. In terms of if you have a lot of traffic, the database will scale up automatically or down automatically. So making sure that whatever runs on the database runs smoothly at all times. And it's not just all the clever innovations in the past or over it's not just the automations or the small improvements that are behind it that we have used from all the times. It's also that both in the infrastructure level as well as the operations around the database and inside the database, here we're applying machine learning. So we have query optimization based on machine learning, automatic indexing. It will learn slowly how to optimize your database. Slowly, it will learn how to optimize your database. It will learn anomalies. I mean, if someone is connecting from a different place is something we would handle. So if someone is connecting to a database from a strange place, a country where we don't expect someone to connect to the database from, that's usually handled by our security framework in the cloud. But any other anomalies that someone is trying to access data in a strange way will be detected by machine learning techniques in the back, as well as it will detect if the infrastructure is behaving in a way that is very unusual. And again, Gartner has highlighted this as one of the cool benefits, the big innovations in the database space. And also, I mean, they touched on this subject, that the job of the DBA evolves to something else. In IT, we always do things more effectively. It sometimes affect jobs where people are doing mundane tasks. And in this case, they're saying that probably the job of the DBA will be less mundane. They will do less of query optimization, less of indexing, and focus more on growing the business or helping make sure that data is handled in the right way from a bigger perspective. And it's also great news for anyone who actually doesn't really have a DBA, because now you can at least benefit from a lot of autonomous features that you definitely didn't have before if your organization didn't have access to any DBA. And that's it for our evolution today. So we gave you a consolidated DB message, and we want to highlight the fact that the first and still only autonomous database runs on Oracle Cloud. As far as I can see, you haven't been really trying to reach me over the chat. I will take a look in every end of every session. If there's anything you want clarified or so, please feel free to reach out in the chat. We're going to go ahead and look at the Oracle Cloud Strategy, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. And I want to start with saying that this is it's really out there. I don't know how familiar you are with the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Maybe some of you are already working on OCI. I'm sure that many of you are working on cloud in general. We have now 26 regions live out there. According to my slideware, that's one more than Amazon. So we have 26 regions live. When I started 3 years ago, we had something like 2 or 3 regions live. So there was something there that we really focused on building the cloud that we wanted to have before rolling it out everywhere. And now the rollout is truly ongoing. We have 26 regions live over the world. You can see that some of them aren't filled. We should have more than 12 on this map are not filled yet. Like this one, these are planned sites. If you see that they are not filled completely, in the scope we have a region plan for Sweden as well. Some of them are also marked with Microsoft, and that means that these sites, 6 of them according to this map, are interconnected with Microsoft, and we're going to take a look at what that is in a bit. We also have all kinds of cloud services. So it's not just that we have the database layer or the data management layer, even though it is, of course, one of the things that differentiate us as doing what we do best. We have our flagship product here, the autonomous database, but we also have everything else that you would expect from a cloud. So don't have any other ideas, please. Computes are there. All kinds of OS images and the SaaS products, as well as all kinds of storage and networking, security. There are a number of developer products inside many of these layers. We have here, you see a chain being drawn. We have blockchain both in the infrastructure, developer, and applications level. So everything is there, and if we actually take a look at how we do today, Gartner just recently released a new cloud ranking where we are 5th, not last, but just 4 in front of us. And they are slightly ahead in terms of Gartner ranking. So Gartner finds that we check all the boxes in 74% of the cases, while just 1 year ago we were doing a lot worse. So you can see that we have the biggest increase in the Gartner ranking of all the vendors. And we're also very close to the other vendors that you may or may not be more familiar with. And we're also, 2020 version of our cloud is better than the 2019 version of almost all clouds. So yeah, we're almost there now in terms of being at the very top of the Gartner analysis. But as you can expect, if we are this high, if we are among the top 5, there's going to be a few things that we are actually best at. So we're going to be in number 1 in a few areas. Let me, before I forget, just say that in some surveys we have the highest satisfaction scores of all vendors. But in this case, Gartner said that if you're doing Oracle workloads, you're gonna want to look at the Oracle Cloud offering. A few other cases as well if you're doing high performance, because we're going to see a few things about high performance. Also, we are the only vendor that has a completely identical private cloud to public cloud. So if you want to run Oracle Cloud in your data center, we're the only ones who can deliver all services in your data center like that. And what we're doing, or what we did, why is that we did also have a first generation cloud, a small one we call the OCI Classic. But comparing to first generation's clouds, we did attract a lot of talent from the cloud vendors from the first generation cloud. And at Oracle, they redesigned a second generation with more performance, economics, etc. Everything is better. But there are a few differences that in the generation 2 cloud that you might find a little bit cool, actually. First of all, it's all faster. And that's one thing I would probably expect this. So Oracle builds a new cloud. It has the newest hardware. It's going to be faster. And then maybe some other cloud will do a refresh and have a newer cloud, and they will be faster. Well, it's not exactly like that. But let's keep on looking a little bit. We're the only ones who are delivering SLAs for performance. So with the other clouds, or at least the other clouds listed here, let's be clear, there's no coverage for performance. So everyone is covering your services will be available, but will they perform according to what you have bought? There's nothing there saying that it will. Same goes for manageability, and that's basically so for availability, you will always be able to reach your services, but for manageability, it says that will you be able to reach the cloud console, etc., to manage your resources when you need them? If not, then you're going to be in trouble when you're trying to access them to scale up or down or do anything like that. It goes for the APIs as well that you want to call, of course. You can see it's all cheaper. So Oracle is also positioning everything at a lower price than other vendors. And the same, okay, let's highlight this one. The egress traffic. So a lot of customers, when they are moving to the cloud, they are concerned that it's some kind of lock-in to one cloud or the other. And rightfully so, it seems, but you should know that with egress, with Oracle, you have 10 terabytes free per month. So that will give you enough space to actually do egress traffic as well, taking out data from your cloud services. And it will be the cheapest up to 50 terabytes and probably more, I'm not sure. But you can see that we're not doing that type of lock-in that some customers are worried about from the past. And here's what I wanted to show you, that is a little bit more than just the newest infrastructure, the best pricing, etc. It's also re-engineered from the ground up, meaning that, okay, we have a generation 1 cloud. This is most cloud providers, where you do the cloud control in the same areas and machines as the user data. And that's a little bit, should be a concern, because that means your cloud provider can see your customer data. It's not only that, it's also the fact that, yeah, if you compare it to the second generation, we put the cloud control completely outside of the user computer. So what you get is basically a bare metal server that is yours alone. Oracle cannot see your customer data. Your users cannot access the cloud control computer. And it's not only that it's more secure, it's also that it will be faster by design, because you get less overhead in your machine. So design is different, and probably that will that will be an advantage for quite some time. We'll see what the third generation sometime down the road. But at the moment, it's not just about the fastest computer or the fastest hardware. It's about how you also do the designing. One more thing on pricing. We have the same prices. all over the globe. Also a concern that some customers raise. If you will compare with Amazon, for example, you can see that in US, Japan, or Brazil, you have to think about where you deploy your services because the pricing will be different. Same way we don't do the egress traffic pricing, we also don't change traffic. We don't change pricing over the globe, so it's going to be the same everywhere. Okay, so probably, or hopefully you've heard something that you like along the way about the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. You can try OCI, as you may expect, that you can try it for free for 30 days. You can try all those services. There are also a few services that you can try forever and that you can keep, and it's going to be free always. And while they may be limited, here's what's included here: 2 autonomous databases, 2 VMs, storage, networking through a load balancer, and also monitoring. So you can do a lot of exploratory stuff here. This is a chance for everyone to, familiarize yourself with the cloud. You can also do something that is more persistent in a small scale. And I wanted to show you just, let's take the opportunity and show you what you can actually be doing there. So if I jump out of the presentation for a little bit, and into my browser, let me show you my site that I have been working on, over time. Sorry, I don't even know the address. Brondera.com. If I go to Brondera.com, you'll see that what actually happens directly is that it jumps to a secure address, www.brondera.com/hello, so my landing page. And this is done by the load balancer that is always free. The load balancer also makes sure that I will be able to jump between the 2 web servers. So I have 2 VMs that I've installed the Tomcat on, Linux VMs. And if you see when I refresh here, I go between the 2 VMs in a round robin fashion. So every other update will go to a different site. And this, I moved for example, my speaker site says that I have a cool webinar during lunchtime today. And I used to have this and a few other sites. You can read my articles on a web hotel service. So I'm not saying it was expensive in any way, but free is cheaper. So when I could move it to Oracle OCI for free and have my web page running here, it's not that cool, or it doesn't require that much attention. I could just keep it on the small resources that are offered for free forever. And one demo that I wanted to show you is if you ever get into the trouble of that you have to spell your name to someone, my name is Axel Bronder, to someone over the phone, that can be quite some work because you want them to get the exactly the right characters. It can be a mess. But thanks to this Bravo application that I put together, you can now put in your name, and then you see your how you should spell that to someone over the phone. So in my case, I would say Alpha X-ray Echo Lima Bravo Romeo Oscar November Delta Echo Romeo. Yes, cannot be misspelled. Everything is in order. Okay. What about it? Well, what about it? It does get its data from a autonomous database. So I wanted to show you, if we look at the sources here, we can find that it calls an API, a read-only API that we're going to take a look at in the web browser. So VMs and load balancer we all used. We're also using an autonomous database in the background where I have a table with the data. So basically, if I call someone, if I call the character A, it will give me Morse code as well as telephony and phonic, etc. And this table is exposed via the APIs that we have had for a number of decades, probably, I don't know. For a long time, we have had API support in the database. This is what I'm using here for a read-only JSON format, to expose it in a read-only JSON format. And I can tell you that it automatically went from 12 to 19C without having to have my attention at all. So it upgraded automatically. I expect it to take care of threats, etc., automatically as well. So it's pretty cool. It's one way you can challenge yourself and take a look at this. Now I'm only a PowerPoint architect. Here's the same idea made by the A team, a cat shop, Mew shop, I think. If you go to this site, mewshop.ateam.cloud, you can buy some stuff for your cat. Not really. The idea here is just if you call us, someone would be very surprised. If you find a store, we'll be very impressed. And actually, if you go to checkout and you see that security of payment is not really provided by secure protocols. This is also a demo site, much like mine, leveraging Oracle Always Free resources to do a cloud native demo. So what these guys have done here is that if we take away the services, they have put together this cat shop inside of a Kubernetes cluster with all these, everything runs in a separate container, everything runs on Oracle Cloud Always Free resources, and the network is also from the Always Free resources. And they also exposed, so this is all available, both my site and these guys, they have everything available on GitHub. You can also download and apply the Terraform script. So if you don't know where else to start, you can actually just install this cat, what do we call it? This cat e-commerce on your free resources with a few clicks. So if you want a free cat shop, you can go ahead and start up the Oracle Always Free resources, download and do the Terraform scripts to run a cat shop, I guess. Two demos on what you can do on free resources. I also want to highlight, because I know you guys are exploring technologies all the time. We have something called Learning Explorer now with a lot of free credits, free training. You get some credits for what you do in SaaS, in OCI, so you can take a look at all the resources I've highlighted here. For example, if you want to take a look at the Java and want to learn more about it, you will be earning a Oracle Learning Explorer badge for Java. So someone will be seeing that, okay, you've started exploring Java on the Oracle free training stuff. If you log in, you can start a course. It says that it has 6.5 hours of video material only, and then a lot of stuff on top of that I would expect. Here's what's included in the free training. As well as free training, that's always great, and it's nice to have a few certifications. I have a number of them myself. So I'm no better than, so yeah, I'm using this stuff myself. But what I really like, what I've always liked, even though I graduated somehow and I have these certificates, what I really like is to do workshops and hands-on development on my own. And I'll send you a link to the workshops that are available for free as well. You can also check the box here and see what workshops you can do on Always Free resources. For example, you can do a lot of development on Oracle Application Express. Application Express is a low code thing that comes with the Oracle database. We can see that this whole website is built with Application Express. So I guess like Visual Studio or some other tool, you can put together very clever and good applications just from, you know, scripting, drag and drop, that kind of environment. A ton of stuff for you to explore. Like I said, you will be able to find these links, you know, in the material I'll send you after the presentation here. So with that, we covered the Oracle database, how it has evolved to a consolidated DB message, to a autonomous cloud product. We've been looking into the Oracle Cloud infrastructure and how OCI is also available in terms of free resources, training, some demos. Now we're at the partnership that we have formed with Microsoft and Microsoft Azure. And why would anyone go into a partnership with someone else? Well, one is to meet the needs of the customer. It's a classic way for us to work. We listen to the customer and then we act on what they need. This is a research study that shows that many customers express the need for multi-cloud. It makes sense that not all workloads can move to any single cloud. I guess it can, but you know, it usually comes with a lot of pros to run some workloads with one vendor or the others. And I think what we are seeing with our customers is that the cloud, it's common to have a cloud strategy. It's also common to have a multi-cloud strategy, at least keeping 2 or up to 10 cloud vendors in the loop, because you wanted to run some applications, etc., from one vendor. And it becomes a administration nightmare. It becomes a problem for all kinds of senses, because you want to know perhaps how you want them to fit together a little bit better. And that's what they built now with Microsoft and what we built with Oracle. So it's a cross-cloud interconnect. As you saw, 6 sites today where we are located in the same position and where the connection between the 2 clouds will be super fast. They did Accenture did a research study on this, and they found that between OCI, the network connectivity between OCI and Azure made this faster than some cloud vendors, just single cloud vendors. So with 2 vendors, we were still faster than many of the others with just 1 vendor. But it's more than that. So not only are they connected so that it will be fast to run for simplicity, Oracle DB with an application in Azure, when you administrate your cloud resources, you can leverage federated identity. So if you already have a user with Microsoft Azure, you can leverage those user capabilities and apply them to the Oracle user base as well. So your user will be having the same rights, or don't have the same rights. They will have the same rights, or you know, they will be limited in the same way in both Azure and Oracle. So the user rights are federated between them. And they also have joint support. So if you think that you have an issue, you're not sure whether it's with Azure or with Oracle, you can just send your support request and they will figure that out between them. And that helps. Many customers find this very appealing. For example, because they don't have to re-architect for one cloud or the other. They can still keep their architecture that they have on-premise or so. And it's as simple as that. So you'll probably find that, yeah, you can go between one or the other to find the cheapest services available. You can use the cheapest ones, I guess. You can use, if you're really after autonomous database, you can use it from Oracle, and then maybe you want to connect it to something that you use with Azure. I can really see that this is something very useful. And that's why they are opening up more centers as well. I think that's simple enough how to cover the partnership between Azure and OCI. And I'm going to dedicate the last couple of minutes here to some customer stories on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Yeah, that I've picked out. So I started with picking out one Swedish customer that are doing an open banking platform on OCI. This is a slide from Capgemini, who did the implementation for that customer. It's a slide from Open World, the big Oracle conference. And this is a complete open banking platform. They want to, when one of the big drivers is that they really want to keep the pace up. They want to be able to meet all the demands on open platforming that a bank today has. You can see that it takes care of everything from all kinds of bank IDs in the identity service of OCI. It uses the load balancer, the same as I use for my site there, to diverse the traffic to the right places, make sure they have the right identities, and then they will take a look at the actual functionality that is a microservice architecture running on MySQL as in the compute environment, so in the compute layer or in the database layer, so to speak. And while I'm at it, MySQL is a open source database. You have it available in Oracle. And it's going to be MySQL. So if you're moving to many of the other vendors, they have something like a MySQL database, but they call it something else and they license it somewhere different. And this means that it's going to be annoying for you to run open source products. Oracle runs a lot of open source products, Terraform, Ansible, Kubernetes for that sense, and also in the blockchain space, we do Hyperledger Fabric, and we build a Oracle blockchain offering on top of that. That's what we do. So we leverage open source technologies, much like MySQL or Hyperledger Fabric. We may or may not have it as a enterprise offering, meaning that it's a hardened thing that is taken care of in terms of support and backups, etc. But we don't fork the open source code. So we don't change it to something else. We have an open no fork policy for open source. That was something outside of the architecture, I guess. And here is one example, I think, of Terraform and Ansible. They want to be able to scale this out. So they want to be able to, and that's usually one use case for Terraform or for Ansible. Again, with the endless resources of the Oracle Cloud, or any cloud, sorry, you'll be able to scale up and down using the Terraform and Ansible scripts. Basically, you can shut down your entire environment during the night and then come back to work the next day, and Terraform has built everything back up online for you. And some people use it like that. So many of our customers use test and development much like that to recreate an environment during the day and then keep it down during the night. It will save them a few bucks because you pay per second of cloud resources. And some just use them for scaling in and out. I'll get back to that a little bit if we need to, but otherwise, this was the cloud open banking platform. It's been running for a while, and what I perhaps didn't mention is that it's also connected to their on-premise environments. Their core banking database is running Oracle database. Another cool example is Zoom. So Zoom is running. What about Zoom? It now has 300 million daily participants. So us 15 here, we're not the only ones running Zoom today. And Zoom has their own data center somewhere in the US where they started out, where they have their core business, but they are scaling out globally, as you can expect. And they used to do it with some other cloud vendor, but it was not sustainable for them. Was it for the actual hardware resources, or was it for it became so expensive? I'm not sure, but ever since early this year, or just when they started to get really, really big traffic from the pandemic or so, they put everything on Oracle Cloud, and they were able to scale out globally. And I would expect that all of us here in Europe are running on Oracle Cloud in terms of the Zoom infrastructure. So that's cool. And yeah, they did use a lot of these open source products. They use the Terraform as Ansible to scale up. And also, yeah, very cool reference, I think. Yeah. Another cool reference I wanted to highlight is CERN in Switzerland, the big research place. There are this use case is something that they have used for cloud native development, or should I say just deployment of development resources. Their developers are running WebLogic, a server, so to speak, WebLogic server. They're running clusters on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Container Engine. That's a Kubernetes package in an enterprise offering, and it works very, very well. So that's cool. I wanted to put in a developer example of how fast they can actually run in the Oracle Cloud here. They also are running the Oracle Autonomous Database. So same place, CERN, not only doing development, but also doing their data lake, or a big autonomous data warehouse, where they are putting in large amounts of data for analysis in every all big data stuff. Yeah, a few cool examples. So Swedish one, Zoom, CERN, and you'll find a ton of them on our webpage. So if you want to take a look at other examples. My final note before I take a closer look at this question from Bruno here is that we are, I don't know, I was thinking about expectations on an American company. Anyway, we're driving sustainability in the cloud. And that's a differentiator for some customers, because they can look at pricing, they can look at the overall offering, but they will also look at, if I move my workloads to the cloud, will it be sustainable, or will you run it on everything on coal or whatnot? So it has to be a sustainable offering there. And in Europe, we are doing everything 100% renewable in terms of energy. We have 10 countries with 100% renewable. Every country in Europe has 100% renewable in the data center. So if you're running something in Europe, you can count on the fact that it's renewable. it's not the only thing that we are looking into, but we're also taking a complete life cycle look at our, you know, our hardware, etc. That it makes sure that it's not, we just don't throw away our servers afterwards. We make sure that they are put into good use, also recycled afterwards. So it's something to look at and think about, because it's a differentiator for Oracle Cloud. Some of our customers are asking us how much per transaction are the CO2 impact, and as long as they are running in Europe, at least we can say 0. We'll have to do a close calculation, I guess, for the rest of the footprint. But we are taking this very seriously. And with that, I want to say thank you for taking up some of your lunch break here. We do have some interaction from Bruno. Thank you very much for that. I'll take a look at his or any other questions that you may have in the next couple of minutes. Otherwise, I want to thank you for your time. Great. Thank you. So let's see, Bruno. When it comes to I was trying to make an example during. So I read your question during the presentation. When it comes to Ansible and Terraform, have you got any example to orchestrate, to other orchestrate? So do I have any other examples? I'm not sure if I mean any other examples except from Terraform or Ansible, or just more examples of what people are doing with those. I'll start with other examples. So Terraform is, I guess, the widespread thing that I see used mostly. It works. And Ansible, they work quite well together, I would say. So Terraform for building up the resources, Ansible a little bit more for scripting the VMs, etc., running some code on them. So that's the ones I have seen closely together. But you can, yeah. And the question is, do I know any other technologies well supported? Well, I'm not sure, to be honest. So Terraform and Ansible, the most supported ones. I would like to point you to a more so a more detailed answer, I guess. I'll find you a link to what else is supported, but I would say those two are the biggest ones. So Terraform and Ansible. And then you're also asking, when it comes to Python, how do you use this with Oracle Cloud? Well, in a number of ways. So I mean, we don't stop you from using Python everywhere in the VMs, etc. But we also support Python for the SDKs, etc. Even our OCI SDK is with Python. So if you want to script your resources, if you want to take care of everything from your laptop and run the scripting, you're going to do well with Python. And then the forecast of Oracle Data Center in Sweden. Well, it's in the roadmap, as you could see. So it's public information, definitely. And usually we put that inside when we are looking at something like a year ahead or so. So there are no guarantees and we cannot expect anything, but a normal time frame is something like it's coming, and it's coming in something like a year or so. I guess you will find more information as it grows closer, right? Thank you, sir. I hope that clarifies your questions. If you guys have any other questions, I'll give it another minute or so. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining.